we don't modify ones that are already updated. So it's that problem I talked about before. You have bot A, bot B, and bot C. And A updates and kills C. Now, these, if we just left them up to the indexer, if all of these were living at the beginning of the turn, then they'd all just be in the indexer as like living bots equals indexer.get code executors. And then we'd go through all of them and update them, so then C would still get an update. So we need to put this here. We check to make sure that the bot is ready, and we also, so if, actually we can just do this in here, I guess. We can, well, we can sort of do this either way. I'll put it in here. If entity.has component, component names dot is dead, and return. Dead bots, dead entities cannot be updated. And this is update entity, despite that there really should be update bot, because this is only code executor entity. So I'm going to rename this updates code executor entity. Well, I don't really need the entity on the end of that. Oh wait, so in your damage function you subtract health and then check for is dead. Hello, source button. Let's see. I do modify life and then check for is dead. Yeah, so that's pretty much what's happening. So if I look for fire lasers in here, we should see, yeah, I do modify life and then check for is dead. Now modify life could return whether the entity is dead or not, but I find that I don't end up using it that way, I guess. I don't know, I could change it later. Also, let's see if refreshing this thing finally works. Is Better Twitch TV gonna turn this page dark? Nice. It did. Cool. Okay, cool, now I can actually see some stats. Alright, so we have now updated that. Then the other thing we want to do is, so dead entities aren't targetable, we did that. Dead entities don't get updated, and then we have an indexer for dead entities, so we need that. So in shared arena, let's add an indexer. So set up entity component system. We're going to add an indexer for dead entities. Is dead. And dead entities needs to be in indexer names, which is going to be here. Dead entities. Good. Alright, so now we have an indexer for dead entities. Now we need to actually remove them. So, and then we need to send out a message that we've removed them. And that happens, that actually should happen back in the arena. So let's go back to server arena. At some point we run the code execution system, and then after running that, now delete any dead entities. So how are we going to do this? Let's go in here, and in our update function here we did something sort of similar. We're going to do this. Actually, let's just say this dot remove dead entities. Yeah. So dead entities, we get, what did I call the indexer? Dead entities? Yeah. So we get dead entities, and then we iterate over this dot entities entity ID. Yeah, and then we need to remove it. So this dot remove entity ID. Okay, good. Next, we write a remove entity function. And it takes an entity and an entity ID, and that should not be capitalized. And this is going to do a whole lot of things. One of the things it's got to do is, I think this has to tell clients about this. Tell clients about the removal. So let's take a look at what happens when we add an entity, because we essentially need to undo all of that stuff. So let's look at add entity. We have all of this. So just for the sake of easy coding, we're going to put all of this over to here, and then just change his name to make sure to remove me. So that's add entity. What do? We save entities, we update the entity indexer. So let's delete the entity. Delete this dot entities, entity ID. What does the entity indexer do? Does it have a delete function? Remove. Removes a filter. Update. How does this work? Yeah, we want to stop this from being indexed. Update item index. So if util exists, if the entity no longer exists, so we can just do update item again. So yeah, let's take line 145 and just move it down here. Yep, good. This will remove the entity now that it no longer exists in the indexee. Alright, good. What else do we do in here? We get its real ID component, and we set some things in here. And then if it had a physics component, okay, so we pretty much need to do all of this stuff too. So before we delete it, let's do those things. So has ID component, if has ID component, we delete that entity from there, and we delete this mapping. Good. And then physics component, if that exists, then we delete the entity from there too. Yes. Okay. Then we delete the entity from our indexee, we update this, and then we finally tell clients about the removal of this. And how we're telling clients is the same way that we tell clients about bots moving, for example. So there should be like a bot moved or a client served router, yeah, this. So we're gonna say delete bot, it's really delete entity. Delete entity, and we pass in its real ID, which it might not even have. So let's do this. If has ID component, then there we go. So now we need to code this function. We'll put a delete entity, real ID. Forgot to define this in the base class. So now we need to modify this. So create bot turns into delete entity, real ID. So we send to everyone debug delete entity. At some point I should really fix this up. Let me write that down on my to-do list. Client serve router has a lot of debug gua strings. Alright, so we debug delete entity, and we're going to pass in the real ID. Good. Then we have one more client server router to modify, and that is the one with the pub subs, which is just publishing out commands directly as they were passed in. And this might as well just do the same thing, to be honest. In fact, I'm not sure why I didn't do it that way. Let's do .args. .args. Will this work even? It should. And so we do the same thing here. We do delete entity, and now instead of create bot, so topic names, no, pub subtopics. Instead of create, we'll put a delete entity, and we can put that here. Okay, cool. So perhaps that'll work. Now nothing's listening to this, so we need to go find a listener, and this will be in the client arena. And here's where we should be subscribing. So let's take delete entity debug function, and we'll put this here. Real ID. Now we have a shared arena which has this, and we're in the client arena, so we actually should be able to say shared arena. We have a delete entity? No, was that just in the server? Oh yeah, that was in the server. Where is shared? Okay, well we screwed this up a little bit. So let's fix a few things. Zedra said, do you mind letting me cop a free Steam code once you're done creating the game? The game is free to play for everybody, so sure, you can have all the free codes you want. It's not even going to be on Steam, by the way. I'm writing my own, like, everything, basically. So if you just go to botland.net, you'll eventually be able to play the game here. I should have just let you believe that I'd be doing you a favor, though. But yeah, the game's going to be free. Okay, so one of the things that I did not just do correctly is the function up here, make sure to remove me. This needs to be gone. Then all of this up here needs to be done in the base class. So I'm going to say super.remove entity ID. And what is this game? I will answer right after moving this function, because I'm kind of in the middle of this right now. So let's see. What did I call that? Delete entity or remove entity? Oh, goodness. There it is. Remove entity. Good, that makes sense. So remove entity ID. We put this code in here, and if it worked up here, it should work down here. This is basically the opposite of add entity. The server extends this to tell. Actually, it doesn't even need to do that, does it? No, maybe it does. Alright, so then here, when we said delete entity, we can say this dot remove entity. Oh, but we remove it with a real ID. However, we have, this is the whole reason we added this thing in. There's a real ID to entity ID. Yeah, this isn't stupid at all. So this, oh man, this is stupid. So we can say const entity ID equals this. And then we just need the entity. So, oh yeah, here, we can get this here. Const entity equals that. And then we just pass these things in. So entity ID. Okay, so for all I know, that worked. So let's refresh. And I can show the game in the process of refreshing. So this is Botland. And the way that Botland works is it's a strategy game. You're going to create bots. They're these machines that have things like lasers and missiles, and you'll need to pick which ones you want because you can't just fit everything onto them. And then you'll actually write code for those machines. So here I'm showing a little bit of the code, and what I'm working on now is getting the lasers code to work. So this is as simple as a function needs to be. The update function is your turn, sort of, and it gets called once every time you get a turn. So we can see if will lasers hit, fire lasers. This will just figure out directions for you. And if you don't know how to code, there is Blockly, which is a visual language you can use. And you can just drag things over here, and as long as they fit together, like this thing doesn't fit into here. Oh wait, actually does, never mind. As long as they fit together, then you can write valid code. And if you still don't even want to do this, then there are other options for you too. So you can use pre-made scripts if you want. So what we were testing right now is the lasers code. So we're going to deploy 2 of these machines, and they should kill each other, and they're not doing that. So we need to figure out why they're not doing that. In order for that to happen, we need to look into this code. So let's refresh the page and try again. I desperately need water pretty soon. Oh, well, what? What just happened? That shouldn't be the case. If I deploy one machine, that code is still getting hit? Oh no, that's not the case. Okay, good. So yeah, here we go. So we modify the life by 1,000. It should be dead, so we add the isDead component. And then when I go into the arena, which should be this arena, then there should be an update this right here. So this should get hit. Good. Now we step into here. We should actually have one dead entity. And we don't. Did I not update the indexer? Oh, maybe that's all I forgot. Code execution system, fire lasers, go to this, add component. Oh yeah, I just forgot to update it. So this dot indexer dot update, I don't remember what function we call here. So let's look at add. What do we do in add entity? Update item, that's what we call it, update item. And then we call it with the entity's ID, which we don't have. Let me think about this. So first of all, I think I screwed something else up here. No, I didn't. There's update item. Okay. Yeah, so we don't have the entity's ID. We can get it because we have its real ID, and we can map that back to an entity ID, which is a really bad way of doing things. So let's do this. In the shared arena, we'll say update entity by real ID. Update entity indexer by real ID. We'll say entity. For entity, yeah. So now we do get component, ID component. If it exists, then we do this dot entity indexer dot update item. Wait, const entity ID. This dot real ID component dot ID. Yeah. So this is kind of stupid that we have to do this. I'll explain what's happening in a second. That's not even how you update things, is it? Yeah, no, apparently it is. Okay, so the reason we have to do this, there are entities that might not exist on the server. So let's say a laser, for example. Lasers don't actually exist on the server. You can see in the Fire Lasers code that I wrote, so this is Fire Lasers, and if we scroll down a little bit, we see this is where we're actually doing damage. At no point did I instantiate a laser class. They just don't exist on the server. All they do is immediately do their target damage, and that way the game state is always deterministic. You don't have it could still be deterministic, but it's synchronous. You don't have lasers that they're traveling to their target and then the target moves and they have to travel farther and then maybe they got an extra turn. It doesn't work that way. So on the client, you'll have entities like lasers, because you actually need to animate a laser on the client, so you'll need to make one, that don't exist on the server. And you need to make sure that any networked entities have the same ID on both endpoints. The only way for that to be the case, well, there are a couple different ways, but the way that I chose how to do this is their entity IDs are not the same, but I added in a new ID that actually is shared. So lasers can have any ID that they want because we don't actually need to remove them in the same way. Oh, this won't work either. Alright, let's reconsider our lives and our life choices. The reason this won't work is, how would we remove lasers? Hang on a second. So this code needs to be this is the code I was working on. In our client arena, let's look at shared arena. We have this remove entity. This is the kind of function we're going to need. If a laser gets updated and it dies, we don't have a way to know its actual ID. We can only get its network ID. I think we're going to need to solve that problem, but I don't know if we do that now. So lasers, if we add an is dead component to a laser, then we won't actually be able to delete it since we don't know its ID necessarily at the time of update. That's not even true. We do know its ID. What am I even talking about? Okay, let's take a step back and then eventually go get some water because I've been thirsty for the last half hour and this cup is empty. We wanted to code this in here. We have a target entity that we found. We don't necessarily know its ID, but we're on the server, so we know that it has a real ID. So we can always do this. We can say this dot arena, and then go to the shared arena, and we just wrote code for this here. Dot update entity indexer target entity. So make sure what's it called? dead entities indexer picks up this entity. We can only do this because we know the entity has a real ID, since this is server code. Okay. So that's good. This, we get its ID component. It doesn't necessarily exist, but it pretty much has to. Else, do I have asserts here? No. Const assert equals require assert. Then we can say assert false. In order to update an entity in the indexer, it needs to have a real ID. And then we can say plus entity, although that won't actually do anything right now. We could also call toString on it, but it still won't do anything. Okay, so the way that we've coded this now, well, let's try it out. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but I'm just so dehydrated. I just need to eat some food. Hey Versace, that's not a protein. You can't eat bread on this stream. At least get tofu or something. Okay, so we add in the isDead component, good. Then we actually update this. It should have a real ID. What is it set to? Yep, it's 0. And that makes sense. We deployed the first bot, and it tried shooting lasers. It couldn't find anyone. Then we deployed the second bot. The second bot got its update function called immediately, so it shot a laser back at the left bot. The left bot, since it was first, got an ID of 0. It died immediately because lasers do full damage for right now. So we call update item on this, and now I should not have removed that breakpoint that I had. So we need to go back to here and put a breakpoint here. Good. We hit play. This gets hit. We go into here. We should. Whoops. I have no idea what just happened, but that was not what we wanted to do. So, darn. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, there we go. Now we make sure to put a breakpoint here. We hit the play button. Good. We hit the step into. Good. And now, you know what? Let's hit this. Good. Dead entity should have one entity in it. It does not. Okay. How are we going to do this then? Oh, and that's too bad, Versace. I haven't been able to watch the stream. I've had a normal sleeping schedule, and you start streaming when I'm about to go to bed. Wait a second, if I start when you're about to go to bed and it's 6 hours after I started, then is it morning for you now? Alright, so we add isDead and then we update this. This should get indexed. Oh, error running this. Oh, wow. Oh, so I put, there's just a bug in here. Entity indexer. Is that even what this is called? Wait, is it this dot entity indexer? Yeah, we're in the arena right now. Update item entity ID. What could I have possibly screwed up here? Let's try this again. Deploy. And when we, oh, I can just pause on caught exceptions. Yeah, this. Entity ID does not exist. It's not defined. Interesting. So this real IDs to entity ID 2. I typed something wrong? I did. Oh my god. This was supposed to be lowercase, but it wasn't. Alright, so now we try this again. Alright, we deploy again. Good, we just hit the play button blindly here. Here we actually ran into an error. ID is not defined. It's not supposed to be defined, I guess. Where is this? Server arena code? What hackers, you should go to sleep then. I'll be here like almost every day this week. I'm just not going to be here on Thursday. But I highly suggest sleeping. It's very important. Okay, so where did I update this? In shared arena, I think there was a remove entity, and it's right at the end of this. Yeah, this should be entity ID. And I guess it was just called ID and add entity, is that correct? Yep, it was. Okay, so this should be working now. Alright, we deploy again, we hit play. We expect this to... Oh, nice. Nice, nice, nice. So remove entity. Oh. If this is in the server arena, then we know for sure that this has an ID component. But we don't have its real ID. So we need to get it again, which is unfortunate. So we need to do ID component equals entity.getIt, and then we tell the client about the removal. Alright, good. Let's try this again. We're almost there to the point where bots can be destroyed. Alright, good, so that's fine. Oh, now this doesn't exist. Because I never said const real ID equals ID component dot ID. I should write a get real ID snippet. Okay. Does this work? And actually, it's beginning to not matter because, yeah, I'm just going to go get water. I'll stop complaining about this. I'll be right back. Oh, this is glorious. H2O. Okay, let's try this again. It worked. Look, the bot died. So now if we just cut out these breakpoints and we deploy a bunch of these, what happened? Oh, TileX is not a real thing anymore. Yeah, that was a mistake, but that's okay. That was in the simulation server. Yeah, this deploy X and deploy Y does not ever get updated. So I could say something like if this dot deploy X is greater than what, 15? Does this have an arena? I think it does. This dot deploy X equals 0. So yeah, let's try this now. Not that I really, this is not something really worth testing, but I might as well try it. So deploy. Yeah, cool. So now if we zoom out, you can actually see. I'm not totally sure what's happening there. That stuff's pretty weird. What is happening there? Oh, I know what's going on. Okay, so let's refresh this and I'll show you guys. The way that this works is as soon as I deploy a bot, it's going to kill the one to the left of it. So that means that the rightmost one never dies. And that means that when I deploy this bot, oh, what? I take back what I said. But, okay, what's eventually going to happen here, once this pattern kind of works itself out, is, yeah, I'll try deploying onto a bot that already exists, and then it'll pick a random tile. So if I just hold the control enter here, you'll eventually see this fill the arena in such a way that no two bots are within laser range of each other. Or at least that should be the case, right? Yeah. However, it would take nearly forever for it to randomly come across that configuration. But yeah, cool stuff. Okay, so who knows if we coded everything correctly? But we've probably got to run more code when a bot is killed, like deleting its namespaces. In fact, I'm positive we have to do that. And if we don't, what's going to happen is this. We'll have, what did I call this? B underscore L underscore. This contains, yeah, look at this. It contains like 500 different objects in here because I was not cleaning them up. So we need to clean up their code components. How are we going to do that? clean up an entity's code component when it dies. So we can do that in the shared arena. When we remove an entity, we check to see if it had a code component, and if so, we can sort of destruct it. I don't think many components need to do this, so I'll just special case the code component for right now. But we have a bot-specific namespace. We're going to need to get this object and then delete it. So let's do that. Get component, code component. If it exists, then just put a debugger here, and let's figure out what's going to happen. Okay. Now we will deploy a couple times. There we go. We killed one of the bots. So code component dot bot specific namespace. Yeah, so b underscore l underscore dot id 0. And if we type that out, we should see some code in here. Yeah, we see an update function. Wait a second. What happens if I say something like a equals 5, b equals 5, c equals 5, and then deploy this, and then deploy another one? There. Now id 2. Yeah, so right. This object just contains a bunch of stuff, and we have to delete it. So I'm not totally sure how to do that. We're going to go into Lodash, because the problem is I can't just say get this object and delete it. I need some sort of like underscore dot delete or remove or no, this won't work. Because I can do underscore dot get code component dot bot specific namespace. No, that didn't work. It's the property. I think it's a global in that or window. Yeah, but I can't just delete this. Not this way, at least. I would need to write something like eval delete code component dot bot specific namespace. Does that work? Yeah, now the object is undefined. Okay, I guess that's what we got to write. Try eval delete code component dot bot specific namespace, catch error and ignore it. Well, no, not ignore it. Error deleting the bot specific namespace. Let's do this. Namespace to delete equals this. All right, so yeah, what we're doing looks like it's dangerous. It shouldn't be. I'm evaluating a very specific line of code, and you as a user never have access to this. So now, if we rerun this code, and I deploy a bunch of bots. Whoops. What's going on here? Oops. Okay. So namespace to delete. What is this? Yeah, so delete namespace to delete. Oh, no. I do need to say code component.bot specific namespace don't die. No, that doesn't even work. Oops. I need to type delete b underscore l underscore dot id 0. Yeah, that's what I need to do. How do I do this? Is there any other way to destroy? I can't think of a way that would work though. I basically. Yeah, I basically, oh, whoops. I just need to do this. Okay. Hello, my name is stupid. Alright, now when we deploy a bunch of bots, we should see in b underscore l underscore that we just have, why do we have two? Oh, because two bots actually exist. Okay, good. Yeah, that's totally fine. So we deploy a whole bunch of these, and we just let them do whatever they want. Well, we ended up with more bots than I thought there'd be. Hey, InstaGib. So now how many objects do we actually have in here? That's a good question. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. How many bots do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Yeah. So that's good. Alright. Okay, we've been doing a lot of like heavy code today. So make lasers actually do damage, make delete bot be sent out. I guess the other thing is test delete bot using game server and not just single player. I don't know if I want to do this yet, but it needs to be done. But making the laser show up on the client is also necessary. And there's actually something I already did wrong. Okay, so the problem I have now is that bots will get deleted on the client before the laser is even created because everything is instantaneous. I need to defer deletion until the laser hits the bot. Okay, and we will code that when we get back. So I'll say clean up code and commit. Then we do this, and I will be right back because I have to use the bathroom. So brc bathroom em. Alright, be right back. Alright, I'm back. Agrigino says, is JavaScript a good first language? I think it's okay. Let me think about this for just a second. So is JavaScript a good first language? As long as you're learning with the right resources, I think it is. JavaScript has a lot of sort of bad ways you can code, I guess I want to say. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I think if you're looking for a first language, I always suggest Python to people. Or yeah, Java or C# even. Any of those languages I think will be good. JavaScript has its nice things about it. And one of the nicest things I think is that it just runs in the browser. So you immediately have a debugging environment and an interpreter. And you can test things out. You can see how other websites do certain things. So that's all pretty nice. Okay, so clean up the code and commit. Let's do that. Why do we modify so much here? I guess we actually needed to do that for all of this to work. Oh. Yeah, okay. We have a lot to consider here. Agar says, I know the basics of programming and I know Scratch and XHTML and a bit of CSS. Yeah, Tiburon's right. I think it also depends on what you want to do with it. So, I'll give you a little bit of perspective. I knew several programming languages and felt like I was competent before I started JavaScript, and then I didn't do enough research before starting, and that's where I coded that game that I've linked before. If you go to my GitHub, you can find it. GitHub Adam13531. I don't feel like I coded this very well. And I think part of it was I just didn't really know JavaScript. But like I said, that's just a little perspective. That's really all it is. Not like the end all be all of anything. So we're gonna go into Arena. Where's that delete entity debug function? So this is called when the server tells you to delete an entity. Delete an entity. And then this is a number, the enemy's real ID, and it doesn't return anything. Agar says, I want to develop games. How do you get graphics in a browser? You could either use what's called the document object model, which is like image tags and divs, or you can use a canvas. And a canvas can either be just an HTML canvas or a WebGL canvas. And those are pretty much the ways you get graphics. I think Shaq can probably help you with some resources there. Okay, good. So we're done checking through one file. That's fine. Next, this file is actually also fine. This we're not going to check in. This also we're not going to check in. So I guess there aren't so many big changes. Yeah, this is another thing we're not going to check in. So there are like 3 debug files. Now remove dead entities, remove entity. We do want to check this in. So let's go into server arena, remove dead entities. And actually, this is something that can go into the shared class. Shared arena. Eventually, I'll tell people, you want to learn how to program? Just load up Botland. It actually won't teach you really how to program. Not at first, at least. Okay, so we get all of the dead entities, and then we remove them. So then the only thing to comment in here is this function. Extends the superclass by sending out a deletion message. I don't even think this is going to be a function soon enough, but whatever, we'll write this down. It doesn't return anything, and we mark it as an override. Is there CSS in this game? Yeah, there is. It's just there's not very much of it. So the reason there's not very much is because I only need CSS for the sort of non-game elements. So this, for example, there is CSS for this scrolling and the buttons and everything, but there's no CSS for this bot, for example, and zooming in and everything. There's no CSS involved in that either. Okay, so we commented that. Good. Next, this client server router. This is also very simple, looks good. Code execution system, actually the changes here aren't as bad as I thought they might be. We get a health component, we modify its life. Eventually, yeah, sure, we want to say to do pull the damage from the laser itself, but we don't have laser damage yet. And then if it's dead, we add a new dead component and we update the arena. So actually, we might want to say something like mark for dead. Yeah, because this is something we're going to end up calling a decent amount. Change this into a function in the arena called mark entity dead. Okay. Looks good. Whoa, what? Save left file as what? Did I modify this accidentally? Darn it, what happened? Oh man. Alright, I don't know what happened here, so let's just Redo. What did happen? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm gonna have to exit this file and just quit without saving because I don't know what changed. And now let's try pasting this in again. There, good. All right, next, Arena. So we make sure that we're only updating, what is this? Make sure we only update living bots, or only return living entities. Oh wait, I'm just modifying this. We had another indexer, then we have a bunch of update functions. So starting with update entity indexer, we need to comment this, update entity indexer. So this will call update item on an entity on the entity's ID, given just the entity. This is not an easy thing to look up necessarily, since an entity is only a bundle of components. We could just put the entity's ID directly into the entity, but I want to keep this as pure as possible. Agar says, what's the objective of the game? So the objective of this game depends on the game mode that you're in. So right now there's no concept of a game mode anyway, but eventually, let's say it's deathmatch, then the objective of the game is to get as many kills as you can. So you'll deploy bots and maybe you'll make them move right, and then if will lasers hit, fire lasers. So let's deploy a few of those bots. And alright. That even work? Yeah, no, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Alright, so let's do that. So now bots will move right, and then when they can shoot lasers, they will. So watch these two down here. You'll eventually see the right one die. Or wait, no, the left one died. Alright, let's do this. If will lasers hit right, fire lasers. There. Now they'll only kill bots to the right of them. So now you'll see... Actually, that's not even true. This one still has the old script, so it'll kill everything that gets close to it. Well, anyway. So that's kind of what this game will be. You'll make bots, and you'll equip them with different weapons and armor, and then you will code them and throw them into an arena, and depending on the game mode, you will need different strategies. Okay. So, did we finish commenting this? I don't think so. No, we didn't. Okay, so let's write entity here, and it doesn't return anything. So we get, to do this, we get the real ID, check for a mapping to the entity ID, then delete based on the entity ID, or then update based. Tiburon says, will there be physics? In this game, no. Any sort of... Yeah, no, I don't think there will be physics. And what was my first language? My first language was TI Basic. I was on a calculator. I don't even know if they still have that language on new calculators. Well, on new TI calculators, I should say. So remove dead entities. Goes through any indexed dead entities and removes them. So then here we want to say, let's delete that. So removes an entity from the arena. This is basically the opposite of add entity. So it takes an entity and an entity ID and does not return anything. Alright, good. So yeah, we need to undo all of this stuff. We need to delete its code component, we need to delete where it's stored on a tile. So I think that looks good. What next? Client server router. Yeah, we added delete entity functions. Yep. I think all this is fine. Good. And good. Okay, cool. So when bots are killed by lasers, they are removed from the arena. Agar, I think you can learn either one and be fine. Like, you can't make a wrong mistake, really. Or you can't make a mistake by learning a certain language, I feel. Unless you're picking, like, a joke language, like whitespace. And then, yes, you can go very wrong trying to learn whitespace first. Yeah, picking C# or JavaScript, either one would be a fine first language. I'd say make sure to mix some practicing with researching. So you're not just coding and you're not just looking things up online. It's good to have a healthy mix of theory and practicality. Wow, Tiburon. Father-son programming league. When bots are killed by lasers, they're removed from the arena. While this happens on the client as well, it is instantaneous. So there is no laser entity, no animation, and no animation. Yeah, cool. Let's push that, because that was a lot of code that we've written today, and I don't know if I pushed it all today. And Agar says, what's better for game developing, JavaScript or C#? I think they're all fine. See, I don't think there's a de facto JavaScript game engine right now. If you were to, let's say, learn... Okay, let me show you something. So if I go to Phaser.js, this is a game engine for JavaScript, and I go into the examples, you'll see how easy it is to get some of this stuff set up. Let's find... gamepad buttons. I wanted to see if there was some simple... Okay, maybe this. So I wanted to show you an example on here and show you how easy it would be to do something. This is terrible. I don't think this even... Okay, that's terrible. Virtual game controller. Maybe this is a good example. Okay, well anyway, this has like a Mario sprite and you've got some controls. So to actually do this, oh, this is not really straightforward code, never mind. Alright, I'm done. Just go to the Phaser.js examples and look through some of this. Basically, here's what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you something where they just moved a sprite around the screen, but in order to just add this sprite to the screen in Phaser.js, it's, what, 6 lines of code, which they just happen to spread out into this many. So this is the code that you need to put this mushroom on the screen. It's pretty simple. So from there you can start tweaking around, change it, do whatever you want. I think, yeah, C# and Unity. So yeah, Agar, I don't think you can go wrong with either choice. And if you do pick C#, eventually look into Unity. I don't know if you should look into it right off the bat. But Phaser.js might be a good starting point if you want to go with JavaScript. Unity might be a good good starting point for C#. They have a JavaScript binding as well, or it's not quite JavaScript, it might be TypeScript, I don't know. So clean up code and commit. Make lasers show up on the client. First, in order to do this, we need a graphic. I am going to draw the world's best laser. Are you ready for this? Done. Yeah, it's just going to be a black square because it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's save it. This is a beautiful laser. Actually, we should probably make it like bright green or something. Where's bright green? Here. Make it bright green. And we'll save. Save it as a laser, client, public images, laser.png. Just reading through chat. Yeah, chat's just focused on commenting on how good this laser looks, so, I mean, nothing's really going on. That sums it up for you guys. Now we should actually use the laser graphic. So I think we have... Where did we load bot graphics? Here. So let's load the laser up also. done. Next, we need, how are we going to do this? So we have all of the components we need, e.g. physics, sprite, chase target. So we should be able to add things that way, but we need a message telling us to create the laser. Okay, yeah, and we don't have that message right now. So let's add that in, and we're going to do it in the code execution system, but we need to be a little bit careful about this. Yeah, so here's the issue. Well, we could call it through Arena, I suppose. Or we can get the Arena's client server router. See, the code execution system is really just an extension of the Arena. So we keep accessing Arena directly, but we shouldn't directly access its data members. So I think we will write a function for this. We will add in, okay, so first let's take a look. How did I do this on the last thing that I wrote? So fire lasers eventually sent a source machine ID, a direction, damage, range, is reflected, target machine ID. Okay. Yeah, so we need to say something like this dot arena. See, the thing is, we have, if I go into the server arena, it inherits from the shared arena, which has the client server router, which is what we want to call from here. There's no reason why the code execution system can't also have that. Do we make use of this at all? Oh, we already do. Okay, I guess let's just access that then. It's not great, but let's do this. Laser fired. Now we need to say all of the things that we said before. So when we said bot moved, what just happened? Bot moved, we just passed in a whole bunch of stuff. And then we called our own bot moved. Yeah, okay, so we're going to pass in, just like that, we're going to pass in a bunch of stuff. So let's get, this is the target entity. So we're going to say, let's say we want, what's our ID? Do we even have an ID at this point? Fire lasers does not keep track of this. Oh, where do we do this? X equals, yeah, this. So we have active bot physics component. We also want, I guess, the active bot real ID is bot entity.get component. That's not right. Get component names .id. Now this should be guaranteed to exist. We just assume physics exists, so we should pretty much also assume that ID exists. We could check for this stuff when we index, but I don't ever see this being not the case. I guess the whole point is that we could assert that it exists, and if not, we could do something different. Oh, hey Chuckita, long time no see. Cool. Yeah, okay, so I think we can do this, and then we will know, I don't remember what I was even saying, it doesn't matter. Let's just get back to where we were coding. So fire lasers, we're gonna take, this is the source bot, then the target bot is going to be, well, we have its ID component, so we can say const target ID equals target real ID, or ID component dot ID. Okay, good. So let's do this. So we have that, and now we want laser damage. We're gonna say const laser damage equals 1,000. And then the next place that we have 1,000, we do negative laser damage. The dev's been going well. I have some things that I could show you. So there is recap video number 4. So if you guys did not see the last week of me developing, then that'll sum it up in about a minute and a half. And then I also posted a blog post on my Sublime plugins because some people were asking about that too. Tiburon says, how do you plan to monetize this game? So the game will be free to play, and if you want to pay money for it, you can pay to get what's essentially like booster packs in Hearthstone. Do the booster packs make you better at the game? No, not really, but it gives you different cards to use. So imagine that you have different types of lasers in the game. They're not necessarily better than each other, but you have different ones. So maybe they enable different strategies, or maybe they are situationally better. So when you have 10 enemies around you, yeah, then maybe chain lasers or something like that is better than regular lasers. But when you only have one enemy around you, now regular lasers might be better. So yeah, no, it's not like a pay-to-win kind of game. And there's no stamina or anything like that. I think those are annoying in games. So I tried to make this as like fun to play and as fun to pay for as it could be. So what else did we pass in before? We passed in range and direction. We still need to do this at some point. I don't like this. Will there be leveling up? No, probably not. I'm going to be so Botland is a distributed game in that you guys will be hosting some of the servers for the game. I'll be hosting some of the servers for the game. And the problem with leveling up is that we don't trust the user hosted servers. So you might say, oh yeah, I killed 1 trillion enemies, and then you say like, so that makes me level 100, but it turns out you didn't, and we have no way of verifying that. But that's fine because it's fine for now at least. Leveling up, since this is a strategy game, picture something like StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 has leveling up, but it doesn't actually make you any better at the game. It unlocks, portraits and icons and stuff, and people can probably see your level. So something like that could eventually exist, but will your bots level up, as in will they start doing more damage at higher levels? No, probably not. So laser fired, we have the source bot, the target bot. Yeah, so one of the things we need to write down here, and this is kind of annoying, so make it that you can target a machine and not just a direction via the API, at the API level. And then the other thing is make it so that you can shoot a laser in a direction without a target. Now that's rather unfortunate that we have to do this, but we do. So yeah. Okay, laser fired for right now. It takes in just those parameters. We don't really care about anything else actually. So yeah, that's good for now. So we have the source ID, the target ID, and then the amount of damage that it did. Next, we need to actually code the laser fired function. We're going to take source, target, and damage. So let's go into find server router, and in here we will say laser fired, and we'll do debug laser fired. We need to get back to that at some point. Then we need this, where are we defining this? We need delete entity, so let's duplicate this. We'll say laser fired. Now we actually need to put the parameters here. So target real ID and then laser damage. Oh, let's just say damage. Akurok, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Okay, next up. We modify the last client server router, which is the server version of this, so that that's the client version of this, so that we publish out a laser fired message. And here we have laser fired. Next, we modify pub subtopics so that there's a laser fired message. And then we actually listen for this. So in delete entity, we're going to put something like that there too. Here we put laser fired, and we just say like laser fired debug function. We do need to change the name of this at some point. So this is going to take a source real ID, target real ID, and then damage. And we need to code this, but we're not going to do that yet because we also need to search for where we did this. So let's look for debug delete entity, and we'll get to that in a second actually. So here, we only do this here. That can't be the case, can it? Oh, I know. I know what I did. I never routed these things correctly. So this this debug, what was it, delete entity, needs to call delete entity, and then laser fired, or is it lasers fired? There it's laser, and there it's laser. So laser fired. Okay, now they've been hooked up. So we call that same thing and we eventually make it to this function. So at this function we want to make a laser assemblage. So let's go into bot assemblage and save this as laser assemblage. And a laser assemblage has, it's not really health, it's damage. A damage component. But we can say laser entity, it has an ID, takes in an ID. We could add an is laser component, maybe is projectile. I gotta take a snack break soon. Been coding for like so many straight hours today. How do we want to do this? This one per tile is not going to be here. Owned by player is not really going to be there, I think. Physics component. The physics component won't be there either. This is really just a client entity. Make laser assemblage. So we could add in the spray here. Anyway, we have health ID. We don't want is bot. We could make something like is laser, but I don't think it's necessary. I think let's do it for now. So we're going to save this as is laser component. Orange says, I was thinking about that. Would a lot of this logic also apply to missiles? So you'd want some weapon parent object which lasers and missiles extend. So in a typical inheritance structure, yes, you would want something like that. But I'm using components. So what's going to differentiate lasers from missiles is how they look, which is just a sprite difference, how they track their target. So lasers only move cardinally, whereas missiles will actually like move to an enemy. And maybe an animation that plays when they reach their target. And so in that case, I can just add the components that I want here. So we're going to make is laser component. We're going to open up component names and change this to is laser. Lowercase that, good. Change this to is laser. And that's it, that's all we need to do here. So next, we can actually make use of that component, is laser component. We don't need that, we don't need that, and we do need that. Owned by player, we don't need. So for right now, wait, we're missing one of these. No, we're not, there we go. Okay, so we take in life and ID. So when we get this here, we need to import make laser assemblage from, and then where is this actually, so let's put this over here, and then let's get laser assemblage. Alright, where is this located? So shared client and game server ECS laser assembly. Good. Now in that function that we have, we put let laser assemblage equals make laser assemblage. Now it's going to have a sprite on it too. So what do we need to pass into here? We need to pass in life and an ID. But it's not an ID component, it actually doesn't need this. So we just have health and is laser. Oh, and chase target. Chase target. So we want this too. Good, and then how do we construct a chase target component? With a tile X and a tile Y. Oh man. Okay, that's not what we want. We need to eventually change it. So make chase target component take in a possible target possible entity as a target. If the enemy is dead, we can kill the projectile. If the enemy moves, we can track the movement. Yeah. I just thought of an idea. When a laser is tracking toward a moving target, we should always align one coordinate with the destination. For example, if the laser was fired upward and the target moves right, the x coordinate should be locked onto the target. Okay, yeah, there's still a lot of code to enable these things working. So maybe this won't all get done today. So we need the chase target component, and for right now, when we add it, we'll say params.target tile x and params.target tile y. So now when we make this, it doesn't have an ID, but we say target tile x is, let's say, 5 for now. Target tile y is also 5. Orange says, how do you improve code reuse between different but similar components? So I actually don't have any code in the components themselves. If you take a look at something like the chase target component, all this is a tile x and a tile y. There's no code to actually make this track toward a tile. And that's where systems come in. So an ECS is an entity component system. Entities are just bundles of components. Components are just data. And the systems are the code for the components. So you can see here's the update function for the chase target system. So similar components will be updated in here. And I'll end up writing, so I'm gonna write lasers now. Missiles will be sometime soon, and then I'll be able to show this a little more closely. And in that case, make sure to just remind me about showing you that. Also, it's been a long time, so let's run a giveaway. Giveaway! Vladenstein, you have won the giveaway. Congratulations. Okay. Oh, there's a lot to do here. So we have the target tile set up. Now, there are a lot of things that need to happen here. And I think that I think it's worth taking a quick break before this, although I am still coding. Yeah, fine. So what do we need this to do? We need this to mark an entity as, how do we do this? We need to mark an entity, we need to know whether this laser is the killing blow on the enemy, so that when the laser hits, we can remove the enemy while the target. Racer NA says, does anybody know how to set global variables using a Mongoose async callback? If Mongoose is JavaScript, then the way you set a global variable is, if you're in the browser, just do window.a equals 5 or something. If you're in Node, you can do global.a equals 5. And also, depending on your environment, you could just do something like a equals 5. If Mongoose isn't even JavaScript, then this is all pointless. Mongoose.js, is that a thing? But be careful about global variables, because chances are you might not want them. Okay. So I think first we'll start with, let's just get the laser to track toward the target, and then let's make it actually do something. So what if we do this for right now, and then, well, I guess we say that this is a laser entity. And then since we're in the arena, we can just say this dot add entity, laser entity. So this won't work for a variety of reasons. One is this does not have a real ID. So when it does finally track to, okay, let's just try this out. This it won't work, but we'll try. So all right, that's problem number one. We don't have a sprite. I forgot to put a sprite on this. So let's do sprite component. Yeah, here we go. So let's do this up here. We're going to do laser sprite is pixie.loader.laser.texture. We're not even going to tint it right now. So we can, it doesn't have a physics component, so we basically just want to do this. We want to set this equal to, let's say 0, 0. What's going to happen here is we're going to have a laser go from 0, 0 to like 320, 320. And then the game's going to stop working. So let's try this. Oh man. Yeah, and then I don't know, maybe we'll stop this task a little bit early and I'll just go into like low priority work stuff because I think I've been coding for too long today for this to be high quality code anymore. Okay, so there's our laser. It should go to there, yes, and now it does not know how to delete itself. And actually we probably saw an error go to the console. No, we didn't. But we should have. So chase target. How did we say? Oh, the system knows how to do this. So what did this was used for just bots right now. So if at destination, then we remove chase target, we update the entity, and then if it's a laser, we want to remove it. So const is an ECMAScript 6 thing, yeah. So if entity, well, let's do this. Get component is laser. So if that exists, then we know it's a laser component. So we're actually going to do the things that happen when a laser hits. So what do we do? Well, we could kill the laser. So we could add the delete component. But that won't work because in shared arena, we iterate over remove dead entities here. And we say remove entity. Oh wait, will this work? Where was the problem that I had? It was in the code execution system. I wanted to mark a bot as dead. Why was it a problem there? Oh, because I didn't have... Maybe this is not an issue. Is dead component? I have target entity, but I didn't have its ID in this case. So maybe this won't be an issue here. Let's do is laser component dot add component new is dead component. Maybe that's all this is gonna take. So let's import is dead component from ECS is dead component. A laser is not quite going to be array. Like, you're probably thinking of sort of a railgun. A laser in this game, if you have an entity here and you have an entity here and they shot a laser, it'd be like a blip, and you'd see it track to its target. Okay, let's try that. So now when this reaches its target, it should delete itself. Well, that was close. That was stupid. I don't even know what I was thinking there. Where's the chase target system? Yeah, this. What I meant to say is entity.add component is dead component. Alright, let's try that again. Lasers are like missiles that only shoot in cardinal directions. And Agar, no, I do not use Phaser. I use Pixie just for rendering. So this didn't work. Let's take a look at... Oh, I never updated the... Okay, I know what I did wrong. What we need to do is this. Yeah, and now is when we should do that shared code that I mentioned. So let's do this. Mark entity dead entity. Here's what we're going to do. So this dot arena dot mark entity dead. Wait a second. Yeah. Target entity. Now we can delete this stuff and put that in here. Good. So we add this. Alright, and then let's just make sure that it doesn't already have the is dead component. Also, I'm going to write something into entity.js really fast. Get component, assert name not equal to undefined. You must provide an entity component name. This assert is here, so I don't do something like component names dot is bot when I meant to do is bot, and then I never catch the error. You'd never call get component on an undefined name anyway. Well, okay, so this whole like should lasers move or not, I think this is just a design choice for this game. They're not supposed to be like light speed. Yeah, it's just a glowing missile essentially. And by the way, the reason for that is if it was like light speed, you might be a little confused as to how this thing hits you. But maybe that's how we end up animating it. I don't know. I am not a visually inclined person when it comes to like art decisions and everything. So I'm gonna let the art director for this game handle that. And if they say that they want it to look like what you guys are saying, then that's what it's gonna be. So we check to see if it already has it, and so we just return, I guess. Because it can't be doubly dead. So then mark entity dead needs to be called from the code execution system. Done. And then it also needs to be called from here, the chase target system. So we'll say this dot arena dot mark entity dead entity. Orange Ray asks, if the target is 3 spaces to the left of you and that target bot moves up next turn, will the laser still hit? So yes, and that's because all state changes in Botland are instantaneous. The only animation that takes place is on the client. So if you're in that situation and you shoot a laser to the left and this thing moves up, the laser will actually kind of track up to there. So it'll sort of look like you hit diagonally, but it doesn't really work that way. And X4 Unix says, I just came, what type of game are you scripting? Well, let me show you. So I'm working on Botland, and it's a strategy game where you'll create machines. And what we're working on right now is the laser aspect of those machines, but you'll eventually have a lot of different components that you can install, and then you actually write code for those machines. So, and if you don't want to write code, there's a visual language that you can use, and as long as you can fit pieces together, then you can make a script that'll work. And we'll also have pre-made scripts if you need to use those. So let's try this. This should now, oh, this is screwing up big time. Big time. I know what's happening. This doesn't exist, does it? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we need to fix that code execution system does not need the isDead component any longer. It needs to be in, actually also the chase target system didn't need this. So this needs to be in the shared arena, and we need to put this here. So we put this in ECS. Done. And X4 Unix, let me know if you have any other questions. I know I just gave you a very basic rundown. I tend to answer that question a lot every day. And as you watch, I think you'll get a little bit of a grasp for what the game is about, but still some things might not be clear. So let's see, does this get deleted? Almost. Almost. I know exactly what went wrong, and it was this is not supposed to be this dot arena. It's just this. So let's fix that and then try again. All right. There. Delete, delete, delete. Assert. What is it asserting? In order to update an entity in the indexer, it needs to have a real ID. Yeah, so that's what I was worried about. We are trying to remove the entity, but we don't actually have its ID. This came from, well, we can just fire another laser and see the stack trace. So as soon as this reaches that other green dot, we'll see a problem here. This is coming from here. So we said mark entity dead. Yep. So we mark it dead, update the indexer. Oh wait, what? Why did this fail? Assert false. Oh yeah. That's not how we can mark entities as dead. I wonder if it's better to just keep track of a list of dead entities. Chucky says, what's your reasoning to use ES6 with Babel even though the state-of-the-art specification isn't properly ready for production? The reason is because it better be ready for production in a year. So basically I'm betting on it being ready for production by the time Botland's released, and until then transpiling is fine. But I expect that the features that I get from it will save me enough time coding where it does make sense to use it, and the only question is how do we use it natively? And for that, yeah, we just need to hope that browsers adopt this sooner rather than later. And it doesn't turn into like a Python 2.7 versus Python 3. Okay, so problem. Lasers don't have a real ID, so they can't be marked for deletion in the same way. Rather, the real problem is this. The real problem. Given an entity, there's no easy way to get its ID. So, some solutions. One, we could save the ID directly in the entity. This violates the entities are just bundles of components theory. So two, we could store a mapping of, actually no, we can't do that. Can't store a mapping. So two, we could save the ID in the entity as a component, e.g. internal ID component. I don't like that. How else would we handle this? Yeah, so I have an ID component already, but it's something different. It's like a networked ID component, and for that it makes sense. Hang on, I'm gonna go turn on a fan. Guys, let me know if you can hear the fan, because the first time I did this in my old apartment, people could hear it and they were like super annoyed by it. Rather, let me know if you can hear it and it's annoying. So there, the fan is on. Is that too loud? I'll just say let me know if the fan is too loud. It's just too hot in this room. I'm amazed at this. Let me actually, I'm not going to look up the weather on stream, but oh, it's 74 outside. That's fine. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, we could save the ID and the entity as a component. We could give lasers a real ID. We actually can't do this. No, we can't. If you do save the ID on the entity, you're violating many rules, and I'm pretty sure some people want you down. I'm violating at least a rule I was trying to abide by, which is the whole entities are just components. That's it. And if you look at my entity class, the only thing we have in here is this.components. So there's no way to identify this entity unless one of its components identifies it. The problem is that we so frequently need the entity's ID that storing it wouldn't be the worst thing. Plus the ID never changes. Pro, we need the ID often enough where it would make sense to have it. I don't know what I want to do here. How else can we solve this? So the problem is this. When we have the entity, there's no way to just get its ID. So what if the other thing I guess we could do is we could pass the entity ID in through all of these different systems. Yeah, so for is pass entity ID along with each entity return value. This would work, but it's just so much overhead that I don't think this is worth it. I honestly think I'm about to do this. I'm about to say, I give up, guys. And I'm going to put the ID into the entity. And we're just going to be upset. We won't know why, but for like the next year, our days won't be as good. Food won't taste as nice. Then it'll hit us. And we'll refactor all of Botland. Oh, what do I do? Why wouldn't entities have names? Monadic bind, I'm not totally sure what you mean by that. You mean just the IDs? Because like all I'm thinking of doing is this. We could save the ID directly in an entity. Right now, entity's constructor looks like this. I think we'd also say this.id equals params.id. Or well, really ID. We just have this constructor. Shouldn't you get the reference in entity? Oh, they have names in Unity? Yeah, I don't totally know how that would help because like laser 1 needs to be differentiated from laser 2. The way we do that is an ID of some sort. And shouldn't you get the reference of an entity on a collision? So I have the entity, I just don't have its ID. And to kind of show you guys what I was talking about there, so when you say fire laser, and this is one of the solutions I can do. So we say get entity matching flags. So basically, we want to fire a laser at something, so we let the arena tell us, is there an entity on this tile? And it returns the entity. One of the things we could do is say something like entity info equals that. So then target entity equals entity info dot entity, and then target entity ID equals entity info dot entity ID. So we could do something like this all over the place. And then when we need to actually use this, we say mark entity dead, and we could pass in the entity ID. That would work, and we could do that. Like, there's no problem with this function returning that. Right here, we have the entity ID, so when we return it, we could just return the ID along with it. And that's fine, and maybe we should just do that. But I don't know. Because if I'm always going to bundle those things together, I should just bundle them directly into the class. But then what if I don't bundle them together? Alright, well, I think I need to just pick one and move forward with it. And if I later decide that there's a problem, I could change it to the other way. The thing is, there won't be a problem. If I put ID into entity, things will just work. And in the places where I don't need this, it'll be an extra, whatever, 8 bytes of wasted memory. Or 4 bytes, whatever JavaScript uses. They really should learn that because I keep talking about it. And in the places where I do use it, it'll be nice to have. Right? Where do I make new entities? Actually, I guess we want to search for this. Okay, let's search for that right there. Yeah, 8 bytes, okay. So we make a new entity in make bot assemblage. Actually, yeah, it's nice that we don't have to pass in the entity ID here. Okay. I think we like the ability to just do this. So I think we are going to stick by this rule. Yep. Let's stick to it. So let's just return some extra data from this function. So here we're going to return entity. We should probably make a class out of this. So, all right, here's what I'm thinking of doing. We could 5 extension of number 4 make an entity with ID class that takes in an entity and an ID and returns that. This is at least, okay, I think I am going to do this because this is at least an obvious way of wrapping this so that if I ever want to change this, I can very quickly change it wherever I need to. So I know this sounds stupid, but that's what I'm doing. So entity with ID.js. And we're going to say entity with ID, and it's going to take in an entity and an entity ID, and it's just going to save equal. Good and good. So, an entity that is stored alongside the internal ID that refers to it. This solves the problem of entity with ID and some stuff. No, we just have the ID. This solves the problem of having an entity at some point, but no ID along with it. Actually, yeah. And no way to get that ID short of iterating over every existing entity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wrote 6 consecutive words that start with a vowel. That's probably not very common. And it's also not very useful to ever comment on it. Alright, they're done. We don't need any of this stuff or that or that. So this is the entire class. It's a struct. This is essentially just a struct. Alright, good. Now, when we want to use this, we do this. We return new entity with ID, entity ID. Done. Now this is this, and then we import from here, let's say. Now where does entity with ID come from? ECS, sounds good. Lowercase that, we're done. Alright, good. So now we need to update every instance of this, which there should only be, oh wait, there are actually more? Oh no, there's only one. I was just writing something out. So entity with ID. Spurtman, you can't make a mapping like that. So in JavaScript, all objects have strings as keys. So check this out. If I make a new object and I say something like, oh, if I make 2 objects, let's say. So, and then I say B, A equals 5. B's key is now object. So you can't get a reference to that object in order to store it, or at least not as far as I know. So yeah, that's a problem. And then why not use a dictionary to relate an ID with an entity? I actually have that, but it's only it's a unidirectional mapping. So given an ID, I can give you the entity, but given an entity, I can't give you its ID. So I think this way will solve the problem for now. So let's do this, entity with ID, I'm going to get that. And then I'm going to say target entity equals entity with ID dot entity, and then we can get target entity ID, I guess. Target entity ID equals that too. So entity with ID dot that. And then if it exists, then great. And then here, when we mark it as dead, we could actually either pass in, no, we should do it this way. Target entity. So now mark entity dead needs to change. And yeah, that was one of the things I thought about, was using 2 dictionaries, but I don't think it's possible. Okay, now mark entity dead. We need that same thing here. So entity ID. Whoops. Entity ID. Good. Mark entity dead already takes it. Good. Next. Entity ID. Now here's where we can finally pass in blam. here we can take in an entity ID. This will call update item on the entity ID on the entity, on the given entity. Then we can delete this and add in a param for number, entity ID, which we know what that is. We can put another space here. And finally, we can get rid of all of this stuff. Look at that. This function now becomes incredibly simple. LepcoQQ says ES6 has maps now that can have object keys. Not sure how they transpile to ES5 though. I don't think that's exactly correct. I think what you're referring to is perhaps this syntax where you can say something like this. So that's something that ES6 lets you do now. But this is not the object A as a key. And that's, again, that's just my understanding. I've only been using ES6 now for like a month, but I don't think you can have objects as keys. Oh, I've seen this website. I did not like this website. It's really bad, and I think half the things are just missing, and it's not updated. Yeah, well, like this. The page Ashley doesn't even exist. I mean, I don't know what it's supposed to even be, but I don't think this is a good website. Map data structure. Perhaps it isn't featured. Let's see. Oh. Set hello, set S34. Wow, yeah, interesting. Okay. Huh. The problem is, even with the transpiler, I can't use this, because there is no way of doing this. But it is good to know that it's not possible, at least. unless I have native support. That's too bad. Because, yeah, that would be a decent way of doing things, but what are you going to do if it's not possible? I guess you're going to do things this way. So, alright, now we can finally update. Oh, we don't even need the entity on a given entity. So this needs to be called just like this. Good. Good. Okay, cool. So did we fix this everywhere? Mark entity dead should only be called now with 2 arguments. Good and good. Then update entity indexer should only be called with 1 argument. Good. Then there was this thing. Get entity matching flags on tile should only return an entity with an ID. So also good. And then this should only be used in that same way. Entity with ID. Okay, good. So we really need to check this if this exists. Otherwise, we actually screwed this up. And let's just say let target entity with ID. Let's put this here. Good. And finally, wherever we use this down below, I believe it is target entity. Yeah, so here we can say let target, well, no, how do I want to say this? Let target entity, let target entity ID. So I guess we will do it this way. I just don't know. This is not like, this is not great. See ya, Chuckita. Okay, and are we using that? Good. Alright, so let's try this again, and we should see the laser actually get removed this time, or we'll run into like 4 different errors, and then the laser will get removed. Okay, well, it didn't crash. That's probably a good thing. So why didn't that work? Let's look through our arena, and we should have a remove delete entity. No, where is this called? Shared arena, remove dead entities. Yeah, so remove dead entities, but it's in a different arena class. It's in the shared, which is here, and it's remove dead entities. So let's put a breakpoint here, and why is this getting called? Is there actually an entity to be deleted? No, there's not. Okay, so yeah, let's put the breakpoint here, I guess. And let's deploy this. So good, the bot gets deleted immediately. Then this should get called on the laser also. Destodon says, why didn't you want to create an entity ID component? Was it because every entity is supposed to have an ID? Yeah, every entity is going to have an ID. And that means that the entity is essentially tracking it. And I don't know. This case that I need is narrow enough where I just ran into it, where I think this might be a better way of doing it. But it's also nice in that it flags where I'm using this new method. So everywhere I search for like .entity ID, I know for sure it's referring to this. So this isn't even being called. I wonder if, let's take a look at our chase target system. I wonder if we're not adding this correctly. So let's deploy. That's fine. Now this should get hit as soon as we get there. Good. So we say mark entity dead, and we're passing in hopefully valid information. What is this? Entity ID is 6, but it's quote 6. Interesting. Yeah, that's actually true. Huh. Okay, well, that's our problem. Wait, actually, is it our problem? Let's take a look. I think it is. We add the component. Okay, good. Then we pass this in. This is still a string at this point, so update item is taking the string. And now we go through everything in here and we update it. So does this exist? It does exist. Oh, so passing it in as a string is not actually a problem. So what happens when I hit play now? Hey token, thanks for following. This isn't good. In chase target system, we say mark entity dead and we pass in the entity. Is this correct? We update this, we remove chase target, we update item. We actually only need to do this once. Wow. No, I don't like that. Let's just do this twice. But if it's a laser component, the mark it is dead. So we pass in the entity. We should be adding in mark entity dead, adds in the is dead component, which hopefully exists. So then let's go back into here. We'll put a breakpoint here. We should have, how did this get called? Oh, whoops, that's how it got called. Okay, yeah, let's do this again. All right, try one more time. So that's fine. And now we want to change that first breakpoint. Well, let's first verify something. So this entity should get the isDead component added. Let's take a look. If entity has components, it should have an isLaser component, good, and it has an isDead component. So that's good. Then we want to put a breakpoint, where is it? Here. No, not there. Here. And then hit the play button. Good. So next, dead entities does not have anything in it. But why? Let's take a look at entities. Do we still have that laser in here somewhere? We have a single entity. This is the bot. So then the laser got deleted. Oh, but the sprite didn't get removed. Oh man. Oh, that's stupid. Okay, we can do this. So we said remove dead entities, then we have this remove entity code. We need to overwrite this in the client to also get rid of sprites. So let's go to the client arena, and in here we'll override, what does this take? Entity and entity ID. We'll call super.remove entity on those parameters. And then also need to remove the pixie sprite. So let's do get component, sprite component. If it exists, then we take the sprite component. How do you remove a sprite from Pixie? Pixie remove sprite. I don't actually know how to do that. Alright, resources. Documentation. And then let's search for, well, how did I add a sprite? Here, new pixie.sprite. So yeah, what does pixie.sprite have that'll let me delete it? No, that doesn't make any sense. I'm manually rendering these. What? What? Yeah, okay, so this doesn't make any sense then. How do I have a single entity here, and yet I still see the laser get created? Also, where does it get removed? I see the sprite right there. I can see you, sprite. Debug main dot arena. What kind of arena is this? Aha! This is the problem. One of these is laser and is dead. Okay, I know what's happening. So the problem is this. In the arena, I never, so I don't even think this is necessary here. In the arena, I never added in the, this dot remove dead entities. So since I never called that, it would never remove the entities. So now the laser should get deleted. Or again, there should be some other like easy to discover error. So let's get rid of that. Nice, okay, that worked. So yeah, so I can put a bunch of these down. We'll see a whole bunch of lasers get created, and then they should all get deleted too. And then when I look at the entities in the arena, I should only see the number of bots that there are. So in this case, 2, 4, 6, 8. And I see 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, good. Whew. Okay. We're coming up on the end of the day, so we still have tons of problems. So lasers are going to take a little bit longer. They're going to go into tomorrow. I'm going to clean up some code and still do some things right up until the end here. So I'll run another giveaway, and then I will be right back. Actually, I'll say bathroom plus snack. And that makes it sound, I'll say BRB bathroom. Alright, let's put this over here. Alright, be right back. Alright, we're back. Although my lights are still the same color. Is everything working? Oh, bad gateway. This thing crashed a long time ago. So the giveaways didn't mean anything, did they? And this crashed like way back at 1 o'clock. Oh man. Alright, I don't even know why that happened. Process followers list. Let's take a quick look. So as app.js, where did this come from? Process followers list on 375. JSON.parse. Oh, because it got an error page. Bad gateway. So yeah, JSON.parse fails. Try. Let's do their obj catch. And if there's an error, this could be if a bad gateway was returned. So just don't process the followers, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's rerun this. Oh, actually, I should probably print the error here. Error parsing JSON. It's probably just going to say error parsing JSON. I could actually print the JSON too if I wanted, but client failed to connect, restart the program. Nice. Good thing I added that in. Alright, cool. So everything's working now. Nice. We got a bunch of people in here. So let's try running giveaway again. And this time it should actually work. Alright, monadic bind, got it. Cool. Alright, now let's read through our code. So wait, let me see, what was on our roadmap for this week, first of all, because I'm pretty sure we're making good progress. The integration test and will lasers hit. I think this will be done by the end of tomorrow then, and then some Blockly stuff. And then afterward, it's expand the API, which means adding in all this other stuff. All right, so let's see what we modified. Again, a ton of stuff. Let's see how going through this is going to be. So we have laser fired. We don't need this remove entity code. So we make a laser assemblage. We're going to need to modify this function pretty heavily, actually. Let's go into the client arena and look at make laser. No, the lasers. Kappa, 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 kappa. Okay. Oh, good. It's actually working. So one light over there is blue now. All right, let's take a look at this. So to do this function needs to be modified heavily. Got an entity, but it doesn't have a spray component. So add it here. All right. It says position to 0. Yeah, again, those things need to change, but they're very obvious that they need to change because right now a laser is going from 0, 0 to 5, 5. So that looks good. What next? Chase target system. So if it's a laser, just delete it. This also needs to do something else. Possibly delete the target too. But we'll handle that later. Alright, laser fired is fine. Pixie wrapper, we loaded a laser image. Show connect component, we don't check this in. We don't check this in. And we don't check this in. Socket interface. Okay. Okay. Laser damage. Good, good, good. Good, good. Yep. What is this for? This isn't used. Oh no, this is used. Yeah, cool. And then what we should do is probably say active real ID, which is sort of in the constructor. I'm gonna auto ban whatever this thing is. Auto purge. And then we'll ban that guy. Go Hawks. Yeah, blue and green. We'll just keep running giveaways until the end of the stream. Oh, did that give it to the spammer? Is that a spammer? No. Alright, at first that looked like just a nonsense name. And it's on nuclei at the end. Hawks as in Seahawks. As in the reason why my lights are blue and green. Although what's that one doing is red. Or orange or whatever that is. Orange. Never liked it when people said orange. It doesn't have an A in it. It's an O. Alright, good. Mark entity dead is now something we want to comment on. So, adds the is dead component to an entity if it's not already there, then updates the entity indexer. So this is an entity, and this is a number, and this is a nothing. Good. Cool, that's done. What's next? Good, don't care. Although actually, let's check the name of that. Laser fired, yeah, that's fine. Here's laser, looks good. Assert that the name is actually there. That was just a little defensive programming. And then, what do we have? Entity with ID. We commented laser component good, and then make laser assemblage. All right, good. So lasers now exist on the client. They don't work very well yet, but they do exist. What a useful comment. All right, next let's do pre-commit, which should not be run as a post-commit like I always keep doing. And do we have any errors? Do we? Yes, expected indent of 12 characters. Is this not 12? There are 3 tabs. How did that even happen? Oh, because of, it's, what's it called? Tortoise Git that's doing that. So spaces, convert to spaces, save, and then amend commit, and then uncheck in, where do we uncheck in this stuff? This? No. No. Oh no. I don't know where this thing is. Where are the files I didn't want to check in? Oh man. Simulation server? Okay, that was one of them. Temp, that was another one. Botland app, yeah, that was another one. Okay, cool. Doop. Commit messages. My commit messages aren't terrible. Every once in a while, something like that, it was just that this is sort of an intermediate step for lasers. CC Game TV says, I'm supposed to be making a Monopoly game for my OOP class, and I don't even know where to begin. Always break it down to the first possible step. So yeah, is this a visual thing or just a console thing? And then what is the first possible step? I think it's like Monopoly Junior, where it's 2 computers playing against each other. Monopoly Junior. I don't know why that sounds so funny to me. I'm sure it's just like the kid version of Monopoly. I just pictured a board of like 3 spaces and all of them say win $500. That way kids don't end up hating each other. Wow, this is pretty interesting. The board is really small. And there are distinctly more cats than there were in the original Monopoly. So yeah, I think you should just hit save image as, and then submit this to your teacher. And I think that's a valid job for the program. Okay, console. Yeah, I do think this is a good exercise to think about CC Gaming TV. Like, how would you represent the board? And what other decisions would you make? Okay. So yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to start new code, but let's see. So we addressed all of that. Is anything useful in this? No, we fixed that, hopefully. Well, let's run a giveaway again. Nice! Hanapif1do. That is definitely a spammer name. Yeah, let's just run another giveaway. Metsudo. Alright, so what else do we have here? Make lasers show up on the client. We have all the components we need, so yeah, that's done. If we add an isDead component, then we won't be able to delete it. We fixed that problem. problem I have now is that bots will get deleted on the client before the laser is even created because everything is instantaneous. I need to defer deletion until the laser hits the bot. Yeah, that's true. Then make chase target when taking a possible entity as a target. Makes so you can target a machine at the API level. Makes so you can check the laser in direction without a target. Write test for everything. Test delete bot using game server and not just single player. Oh yeah. I was using the simulation server for everything up until this point. Okay, cool. So let's delete all this stuff and let's put this back into our to-do list. I'll just put some of these here. So we put, oh man, there we go. I unbroke the riggedness. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what you guys are controlling now. So now you can get lights either from a giveaway or if you follow me or eventually if you spend points, but I might never fix that. It's awfully red in this room. Okay, now let's copy this back into here. We can get rid of this and we can get rid of this. All right, great. So let's put all that there. This is what we're gonna work on next. Make sure deleting a bot is sound, delete all of its data structures. Oh yeah, that's another thing we gotta do. When you delete an entity, wait, did we do that? Oh, we did that already. If you follow and unfollow, it only works if you had originally followed me before the chatbot was working. Do you guys think it's worth having vocabulary quizzes for high schoolers learning programming? I don't know. It's hard to prove whether you understand certain concepts unless you either just code them or you can say that you can code them. I think it's tough. Tiburon followed the first day. Points, Tiburon, time. 62 points, holy cow. All right, let's fix that. Points give Tiburon. Jeez. I really appreciate the support, by the way, guys. And yeah, I want to point out again, I made a couple of new posts over the weekend. There's a blog post that I made, which I'll paste in the chat. There is a new YouTube link, a new YouTube video for the recap video of this last week that I posted. I'll post that in the chat. And then, in case you guys are feeling extra nice and you want to spread anything on social media for me, you can have botland.net too. And then just pick a website and then tweet it to Obama, and then Obama will tell everyone in the US about it, and then everyone will be in the stream. And that's how we'll do things. So, yeah. Alright, yep. That's it for today. Join me tomorrow for finishing up the lasers code and finishing up the tests. And then later this week, hopefully we have a little bit more you can do in the game than just move and fire these fake lasers. So yeah. Bye everyone. Take care.